COVID-19 vaccine rollout is complete. Every Oklahoman who wants a vaccine is eligible to get it. Now, state health officials announced plans to expand our doses to non-Oklahomans. This comes as President Joe Biden set an April 19th deadline for states to make all adults eligible for the COVID vaccine. It's hopeful news, but experts say it's not a ticket to stop being cautious, with the CDC saying the COVID variant from the UK is now the dominant strain in the U.S. And studies suggest it's more contagious and potentially more deadly. 2 Works for You's Mason Morrow shows us why and what the move says about vaccine availability across the state.
More than 2 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine have been administered across the state of Oklahoma, according to state health officials. They say steady supply and wide availability are reasons they're opening up vaccination appointments to those outside of the Sooner State.
Making the vaccine available to anyone who wants it.
Ellen Nematello with the Tulsa Health Department tells 2 Works for You every Oklahoman over the age of 16 is eligible to get the coronavirus vaccine. Vaccination appointments are available through the state's vaccine portal, health clinics, retail pharmacies, and personal physicians. State health officials say the next step in safeguarding Oklahomans against the virus is offering vaccines to our neighbors.
There are people who may live in another state but yet work in Oklahoma. People who might be coming to visit others that live in Oklahoma or live in Tulsa County. And we want those individuals protected.
It's unknown just how many out-of-state residents will take advantage of Oklahoma's vaccine opportunities. A map from the CDC shows surrounding states Arkansas, Kansas, Texas, and Missouri have administered between 80 and 89% of their first vaccine doses. New Mexico and Colorado are over 90%. The vaccine is also available to all citizens over 16 years old in each of those states except Missouri.
The demand is still out there for vaccines.
Nematello says she's curious to see how many make their way to Green Country for a vaccine. She says Tulsa County vaccination numbers are encouraging as weekly appointments continue to fill up.
Every step forward really is more and more exciting to get more and more people protected and vaccinated.
Nematello tells me the Tulsa Health Department is loading up times tonight and tomorrow morning for those non-Oklahomans to register. Reporting, Mason Morrow, 2 Works for You.
Here's something else positive coming out of the pandemic, an innovation. Students at Oklahoma State creating a state-of-the-art virtual reality training simulator for doctors and nurses. Taylor Adams shows us how the technology helps first responders.
It really makes me feel good that I'm doing something that actually benefits people fighting this pandemic.
Virtual reality, but not for gaming.
You can see my controller turns into a real hand, or simulacrum of a hand.
Instead, for training. It's an innovative way to keep medical staff safe while learning how to help COVID-19 patients. And Sam Kaufman, a computer science student at Oklahoma State University, led the team that created it.
There's a lot of potential for it, and the main benefit of it is that it is completely sanitary.
You know, they can actually do virtual.
His professor, Dr. Joe Cecil, says the call of action came from the National Science Foundation.
We knew there was a shortage of well-trained nurses and first responders who could interact safely with the patients. So the goal was very simple, right? Create these simulators, give them to the hospital so that the nurse trainees as well as the nurses can actually be trained and be prepared.
Nurses from hospitals in Oklahoma, Texas, and Arizona have all tried the technology.
So we tested and we said, you know, when a nurse is doing something, what if there was a code black or a code red going on? How do you respond? And then we challenged them with different tasks, with different distractions.
And now the team hopes to get the tech into hospitals all over Oklahoma. A huge accomplishment for Kaufman.
I can be a virtual reality developer, and I learned that in the span of 3 months. For the people out there who think that this isn't for them, or they would like to, but they couldn't, they absolutely can.
Great to see that work being done here. Now, during the coronavirus pandemic, children don't appear to be getting nearly as sick with other common illnesses. A national study finds far fewer children were treated at the hospital.
During the winter season, children's hospitals are filled with pneumonia, bronchiolitis, croup, influenza.
Not this year. Researchers at the Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital in Nashville found that emergency room visits dropped 42% across 44 hospitals. Respiratory illnesses dropped by 62% and non-respiratory illnesses by 38%. The researchers point to measures taken during the pandemic.
School closures, social distancing, mask wearing very likely has stopped transmission of other viruses like influenza and RSV in young children. I think it's safe to say that that's at least having somewhat of an impact.
He also says it's possible that families sought out alternative care, such as telehealth visits. Still, Dr. Antoon believes that there are lessons to be learned, and maybe it's time for us to focus more on community prevention.
Now, your 2 Works For You First forecast, sponsored by Executive Homes.
Did you see something flying in the sky tonight? Some bright lights? What were they? Well, we'll have the answer to that in just a few minutes. But first, let's take a look at dual Doppler right now across the radar across the region. All is quiet here in northeast Oklahoma. Some showers to the northwest of us trying to pull to the southeast, might clip the Oklahoma-Arkansas border, and we'll get into more detail with your forecast in just a few. But you can see the main line of thunderstorm activity moving away from the area, and that's going to be the trend tonight. So we look at what we're tracking. Temperatures cool right now, 50 degrees, and it's going to be a chilly night tonight. We are tracking the next chance for showers, maybe a few thunderstorms as well, and then a wild temperature swing over the next 10 days. More on that, plus that siding in the sky, coming your way in just a few minutes.
Well, heading back to work and getting more planes off the ground and back in the air. American Airlines announcing a big rebound today. Almost all of the planes that were parked at the Tulsa airport are now being reactivated. Also making a return, employees who were laid off or furloughed last October.
Safety is still paramount, and so we don't hurry the process. We take one step at a time and ensure that the aircraft safely get back into the air.
Right now, there are about 8 planes left at the Tulsa maintenance base and are being worked on. The goal is to get the planes out by the end of May. Tulsa Police Officer Kevin Lever honored today with the department's life-saving award. Back in December of 2018, the officer was able to help a man who wanted to commit suicide, saying he felt useless. The victim had climbed onto the edge of a bridge barrier. When Officer Lever arrived, he talked to the man, and after a while, he was able to talk him down off that bridge. Well, a Tulsa family is asking for help in the search for their missing dog. They say that their dog, Ruby Red, was taken from a park. 2 Works For You's Katie Kelleher shares their plea for her return and how this just adds to Ruby's tragic history.
She's just pretty dependable as far as she's always by me. When she runs off, she always comes back.
Janet Ellsbury brought her dog, Ruby Red, along with 2 other pups to Mohawk Park on March 26th.
She loves swimming. I mean, that's what she was doing. And I figured as soon as she got out, I was going to put the chain on her. But then she ran over there. I thought, okay, a little bit of frolicking in the woods.
Ellsbury was getting ready to leave the park when Ruby Red took off into these woods. Needing to take care of the other dogs and run a quick errand, she left and came back about an hour later. But Ruby Red was nowhere to be found. She says Ruby's taken off like this once before, but last time when Ellsbury returned, Ruby was waiting for her. This time, she says a man fishing at the ponds told her he saw 2 girls in an SUV stop and put Ruby in their vehicle.
He said 2 girls, asked if that was his dog, and he said no, but he didn't remember me. So he said he saw the 2 girls lift the hatch and have trouble putting Ruby in.
This is just another incident in Ruby Red's tragic 9 years. She survived being shot by a Tulsa police officer in 2014. Then, in 2016, she survived being shot again while defending her owner, Ellsbury's daughter, Lana, who was shot and killed.
She's the last part of my daughter that I have. And, my daughter loved her.
The family's searching for Ruby every day, pleading for her return to have a piece of their daughter back.
I'd really appreciate knowing if she's alive or dead. I really want to know if she's okay, if she's not being hurt.
If you have any information about Ruby Red, you can find contact information for Ellsbury in this story on our website, KJRH.com. Katie Kelleher, 2 Works For You.
Let's hope someone sees this story and we can reunite them. Well, the bright lights of Hollywood coming to the Sooner State, downtown Oklahoma City, the latest spot for a major film studio. Prairie Surf Studios is one step closer to opening their doors for production. A brand new sign marking their new spot at the building, famously known as the incomparable Myriad, or more recently, the Cox Convention Center. The studio officially moved into the space in December after the city agreed to the lease.
Putting the sign up on the building really feels like, we brought a little piece of Hollywood home and we're ready to share it with everybody.
It will be equipped with 5 different stages when it's complete. For now, they're working on construction inside. Next at 10, we've got an amusing moment to share from Major League Baseball. Plus, day 8 in the Derek Chauvin trial brings the most aggressive questioning yet by the defense and a fierce debate over what George Floyd is heard saying on one police body cam video. I'm Karen Larson. Look for these stories, plus your weather forecast coming up on 2 Works for You. A federal appeals court has struck down key parts of a law governing adoptions of Native American children. Yesterday's ruling from the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upholds a lower court ruling that the Indian Child Welfare Act's preference for Native American families in adoption cases is unconstitutional. The court also said some of the provisions of the law unconstitutionally commandeer state officials' duties in adoption matters. The 1978 law has long been championed by Native American leaders as a means of preserving Native American families and culture. In day 8 of testimony in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, the defense is unleashing a strategy to cast doubt on crucial and key evidence in the case, whether Chauvin had his knee on the neck of George Floyd. Julia Janae with Court TV has a wrap-up of the day's testimony.
Lawyers for both the state and defense continue to press the issue of Derek Chauvin's knee placement. A prosecution expert on the stand with the LAPD, Jody Steiger, agreed with the defense, testifying that in some images of officers arresting George Floyd, Chauvin's weight appears to be back on his feet and not bearing down on Floyd's neck. On redirect, Steiger clarified that the knee appears to stay in the neck area for the entirety of the critical 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Also in court today, a bombshell interpretation when the defense played a snippet of body camera footage for Special Agent James Ryerson and this jury.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Did it appear that Mr. Floyd said, "I ate too many drugs"?
Yes, it did.
Having heard it in context, are you able to tell what Mr. Floyd is saying there?
Yes, I believe Mr. Floyd was saying, "I ain't do no drugs."
The state will call more witnesses tomorrow as the prosecution's case in chief continues. Reporting in Minneapolis, Julia Janae with Court TV.
Now, your 2 Works for You weather, sponsored by Executive Homes.
Well, did you see it tonight? It was pretty amazing. Some were asking, did we have aliens, UFOs fly over Tulsa, fly over northeast Oklahoma tonight? And while it looks like it from the naked eye, this is actually Starlink. And I've been waiting to see it, and fortunately I wasn't paying attention as to when it would fly over us. Tonight it did, and it was pretty cool. So a lot of people saw it. They're calling in going, what in the world is it? Well, that's Starlink. That's part of the Elon Musk wonderful brain of his companies. And that was able to see that across the area tonight. I'll look up and try to keep you updated on the next couple of weeks on when you can see it again, because it's pretty cool, pretty spectacular. All right, looking outside right now, Dave's Claremore RV Weather Camera Network. We have quiet conditions here in northeast Oklahoma, dry conditions as well. That will change though as we head into Friday evening. So tomorrow's going to be great. Friday evening for any games or practices might need to be canceled because of the rain and thunderstorm opportunity. And some of that rain could be heavy at times. Severe weather threat really, really low. So that's good news, but we do need the rain. That's another thing. Saturday, Sunday will be good to go. Unfortunately, the allergy report is not good. We were talking to Caden earlier. Caden's really getting hit hard by this tree pollen. And this is the 3rd day in a row that we've had a tree pollen alert. Now, I remember one day, just singular. Yesterday, I was pretty amazed that we had 2 days in a row. All right, so this is just astonishing to see 3 alert days in a row for tree pollen. So it's just gotten out of hand. The winds are not helping us. We've had strong northwesterly winds today behind this upper level system. You can see that system's going to be departing our region as we go through the overnight hours tonight. Temperatures cool at this hour. Tulsa at 50, McAllister, you're at 50, Coffeyville 48, and coming in Stillwater area in the lower 50s, Bristow in the upper 40s. Wild swing in temperatures the next 7 days. Warm tomorrow, warm on Friday, but then storms move in Friday evening. Cooling for Saturday, upper 60s for highs to near 70 degrees. I think the weekend's going to be great. Then next week turns a little chilly, and we'll talk more about that in just a second. All right, so Saturday near 70 degrees. The rain should have cleared out for most of the day, so the rain will be Friday night, very early Saturday morning, about 2, 3 a.m. And then Sunday, lower 80s, mostly fair skies. Should be a beautiful Sunday, very warm day, very breezy day as well. 50 degrees is our current temperature right now. We have west wind at 6 miles per hour. The sun's at 7:51. It's getting closer to that 8 o'clock hour. Another week or so, and we'll be at the 8 o'clock sunset hour. Normal high to this time of year is in the lower 70s. We climbed to that today before the cooler air moved in. 45 degrees at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Jackets will be needed. McAllister 47, Prairie 45. So a chilly start to your morning. By afternoon, a beautiful day. A little breezy though as west winds begin to increase late in the afternoon hours. It's going to be warm and it's going to be dry. So a little bit of an elevated fire risk for us here in northeast Oklahoma. So if you have burning plans, you might need to keep those at bay tomorrow as we see warm and dry weather. 79 on Friday as moisture moves back in. The chance for a few thunderstorms Friday evening. Luckily, we're not expecting severe weather, so that's great. Saturday, as I mentioned, upper 60s. Sunday, lower 80s. And then next week, it's going to be cool. 60s for highs, and then 50s by Wednesday, 40s to near 50 degrees by next Thursday, and overnight lows falling down into the upper 30s. So some chilly weather heading our way in the extended, and it looks to continue into the following week as well. Caden, that's going to help those allergies that are bothering you.
That's a beautiful thing. My eyes need it.
Yeah.
All right, it's the beginning of a new era for OU basketball. Why Porter Moser is so fired up to get started in Norman. Sports is next.
Two Works for You Sports.
Your Oklahoma City Thunder are finally getting pretty good at this tanking thing. OKC, losers of 3 straight by 36 per game, hosting Charlotte tonight. Big night for